Hey y'all, my name is Preska Rossman and I'm with Auburn Aviation as a part of the Aviation Student Advisory Board. Today, I'll be walking you through a standardized Cessna 172S Preflight and how to complete it effectively. This video is designed to take you step by step through the Auburn Standard from start to finish. The goal isn't just to memorize steps, but to understand what you're doing and why. Every part of this process is built around risk management, safety, and consistency, from planning and decision making to pre-flight procedures. This is the same flow you should be using every time you fly.
Before even thinking about flying, start with the IMSAFE checklist. This is about being honest with yourself and not just checking boxes. Ask yourself, are you sick? Things like congestion and dizziness can get worse in flight. Are you taking any medication that can affect you or isn't approved for flying? Are you stressed? Acute stress, like an upcoming test, is different from chronic stress, like ongoing personal situations, but both matter. If needed, talk with your instructor or someone you trust. Next, alcohol. Make sure you are within the limits outlined in FAR 9117. Then fatigue. Have you gotten enough sleep? Are you alert enough to safely operate the aircraft? And finally, external pressures. Things like school, relationships, and emotional stress that could impact your decision making. If you're unsure about your condition at all, talk to your instructor or a flight supervisor. Getting a second opinion is a pivotal part of good risk management. Once you've determined you're fit to fly, verify that you have all required personal documents. This includes your government-issued ID, pilot certificate, and medical certificate. Next, make sure you have all the supplies you need for the flight. This includes your headset, checklist, charts and scratchpad or iPad, and foggles, if required for instrument training. Now we move into pre-flight planning using NWKRAFT, which comes from FAR 91103. Start by checking NOTAMs for your departure and destination airports. Then get a full weather briefing. 1-800-WX-BRIEF is the standard source used at Auburn because it is the most reliable source approved by the FAA. Check for known ATC delays. Verify runway lengths and available distances. Determine if an alternate is required based on weather conditions. Confirm fuel requirements and ensure you have enough. And calculate takeoff and landing performance using your weight and balance. For local flights, this process is usually quicker since you're focused on the local airport. For cross-country flights, you'll go more in depth across all of these areas. Once you understand the conditions, compare them to your personal minimums. Just because something is legal doesn't mean it's safe for you. If you're outside your comfort zone, talk to your instructor. At this point, you'll make your go or no-go decision. For training flights, the instructor has final authority. For stage checks or evaluations, the student makes the final call. If you're unsure, always reach out to your CFI or a flight supervisor. Now head to dispatch. Plan to arrive early so you're not rushed. A good goal is to have your pre-flight completed by your block time. Dispatch can assign your aircraft about 20 minutes before the block, so arriving around 30 minutes early gives you time to prepare. Go to the desk, give them your last name, and they'll assign you an aircraft. Once you receive an aircraft, start by checking that it has been signed off. This confirms it's released and ready for flight. Next, check the current takt time and make sure the aircraft has not exceeded its maintenance limits. If it has, it is not airworthy. Return to dispatch and request a different aircraft. Then, review the discrepancy log. Make sure any issues are resolved or properly documented. After that, complete your weight and balance for the assigned aircraft. Click on the video or look in the description for how to fill out a weight and balance. Make sure the aircraft is within limits. Then, complete the flight risk assessment on the back. If you fall into the highest risk category, consult your instructor or flight supervisor before continuing. A helpful tip. Since you don't get a tail number until about 20 minutes before the block, you can complete most of the weight and balance ahead of time. That way, once you get the aircraft, it only takes a few minutes to finish and you will have plenty of time to complete the pre-flight before the block starts. Before heading to the airplane, brief your instructor. For cross-country flights, review your navlog, and for all flights, go over the airport diagram, expected departure, but prepare for any potential changes. Once the briefing is complete, head out to the aircraft and begin your pre-flight. On your way out to the aircraft, make sure to grab a service kit. This should include oil, paper towels, and cleaning supplies. You may need these during the pre-flight, so bring it with you to avoid making extra trips. Once you arrive at the aircraft, take a moment to get organized before starting the checklist. Get all of your supplies out and within reach, plug in and adjust your headset, and lay out your checklist and charts. Next, adjust your seat height so you can comfortably reach all controls with full range of motion and maintain proper visibility over the instrument panel. Now that you're set up, we'll begin the checklist, starting with the cabin and initial exterior checks. Begin by removing the pitot tube cover and the cowling plugs and place them inside the cabin so they don't get lost. Next, use your fuel dipstick to check the fuel quantity in both tanks. Always visually verify fuel. Do not rely solely on the gauges. If you're below 35 gallons for local flights or not at full fuel for cross-country flights, contact dispatch and request fuel. Next, check the engine oil quantity. Auburn requires a minimum of 6 quarts. If the oil is at or below 6 quarts, add 1 full quart. To do this, use the paper cups from the service kit, place one in the oil opening, and slowly pour the entire quart in, being careful not to overflow. Dispose of any trash neatly back into the service kit. Now verify all required documents are on board. There are 4 ways to confirm the aircraft serial number: the identification plate on the tail, the airworthiness certificate, the registration, and the first page of the POH. Make sure all 4 match. Also, confirm the Garmin G1000 cockpit reference guide is available. Next, set the parking brake and turn the flashing beacon on. Verify the avionics switch and ignition switch are off. Then, before turning the master switch on, call out "Master on the ramp and turn the master on and confirm the PFD powers up. On the PFD, check your annunciators. The low fuel lights should not be displayed if fuel is sufficient. Oil pressure, low volts, and low vacuum annunciators should be displayed at this stage. Note that some aircraft do not have a vacuum system, so that annunciation may not appear. Turn on Avionics Bus 1 and verify the forward avionics fan is operating. Then turn it back off. Repeat this process with Avionics Bus 2 and verify the aft fan. Next, turn on the pitot heat and all exterior lights. Then extend the flaps to 30 degrees. Step outside the aircraft and verify proper operation. Confirm the flaps are fully extended, check all the lights are illuminated, and carefully verify the pitot heat by slightly tapping near the probe. Do not touch it directly to avoid burns. Return inside and turn the master switch off. Now remove the control wheel lock and check that the flight controls are free and correct in all directions. Then locate the fire extinguisher between the seats and verify it is secured, in date, and in the green. Set the fuel selector to both and ensure the fuel shutoff valve is fully in. Check that the elevator trim is set to neutral and that the alternate static air is fully in. Verify the mixture is at idle cutoff and the throttle is closed. Finally, confirm all electrical switches are off and the ELT is armed. To finish, use the supplies from the service kit to clean up the PFD, MFD, and the windshield. This provides both visibility and professionalism. The cabin checklist is now complete. And now I'll move on to the aft fuselage and empennage. Start by checking that all survival equipment and cargo is properly secured in the baggage area. This is also where you can place your service kit. Nothing should be loose or able to shift during flight, and there should be no sharp or hazardous items unsecured. Once everything is secured, ensure the baggage door is fully closed and locked. Next, inspect the horizontal stabilizer and elevator. Look for any dents, cracks, or missing hardware. If anything appears abnormal, it should be checked by maintenance before flight. Carefully place your hands between the ribs of the elevator and gently move it up and down. As you do this, check that the bell crank is secure and that the bonding straps are intact on both sides. Now inspect the vertical stabilizer and rudder. Gently move the rudder left and right, making sure not to touch the trim tab. While doing this, verify the bell crank is secure and that all the bonding straps are in good condition. Next, check the elevator trim tab. Move the elevator and observe the trim tab movement. Do not grab the trim tab directly. The trim tab should move opposite of the elevator. When the elevator moves up, the trim tab should move down, and vice versa. Then inspect all 6 static wicks on the tail. Ensure they are present and undamaged. Remove the tail tie-down and verify proper clearance from the rudder. There should be about 2 inches of clearance. If it is significantly less, that could indicate a possible tail strike. Next, look underneath the tail and ensure all cotter pins and components are properly secured. This is an area that can sometimes be missed so take a close look. Finally, inspect all antennas. Make sure they are secure and undamaged, including the marker beacon and transponder antennas on the bottom of the aircraft. While doing this, also check the dorsal fin. Small drilled holes at the ends of a crack may be acceptable, but active cracks are not. The Aft Fuselage Empennage checklist is now complete. Now we'll move on to the right wing. Start by inspecting the flap and aileron. Verify that the flap is fully extended and secure. Gently apply pressure from underneath to ensure it moves slightly but remains firmly in place. Check that all hinges, bolts, and hardware are present and secure. Next, check the aileron for full, free movement. Keep a hand on the aileron at all times while moving it to maintain control, especially in windy conditions. As you move it, verify that all hinges and bolts are in place. While the aileron is in motion, inspect the cable underneath the flap to confirm it is moving properly with no binding or damage. Inspect the two static wicks on the wing, ensuring both are present, secure, and undamaged. Move to the wingtip and the lights. Check that the lenses are clean, intact, and properly secured. Inspect the light housing and the prism underneath, ensuring that there are no cracks or damage. Next, inspect the leading edge of the wing. Look carefully for any dents, cracks, or surface damage that could affect airflow. Visually check the angle of attack vane. Ensure it is unobstructed, properly aligned, and undamaged. Do not touch the vane. Remove the tie down and neatly wrap the rope to prevent tangling and place it inside the aircraft. Now inspect the main landing gear. Verify that the securing pin and cap are in place. Look for any signs of hydraulic fluid leaks. Check the brake assembly and ensure there is a small, appropriate gap between the brake pad and the caliper. Inspect the tire for proper inflation and confirm there is no exposed cord lines. Minor bald spots may be acceptable, but consult your instructor if unsure. Next, drain each of the 5 fuel sumps for at least 3 seconds. Check each sample for water, debris, or discoloration. If any contaminants are present, do not use the fuel. Dispose of the contaminated fuel in the designated container at the maintenance hangar. Clean fuel may be returned to the tank if appropriate. Then, verify the fuel quantity visually. Ensure the fuel cap is secured and properly sealed, and confirm the vent is clear and unobstructed. Finally, check that the overhead cabin vent inlets are clear and unobstructed. The right wing checklist is now complete. Now we'll move on to the forward fuselage. Start by checking the cabin air inlet. Ensure it is open, clear, and unobstructed. If it is closed, you may need to open it from inside the cabin. Next, verify the engine oil quantity again. This is your second check to confirm the oil level. If oil was added earlier, ensure the level is still correct and stable. Inspect the engine cowling. Make sure all screws and fasteners are present and secure. If any are missing or loose, contact maintenance. Now inspect the exhaust stack. Look for any cracks, dents, or damage. This is especially important for preventing exhaust leaks and reducing the risk of carbon monoxide entering the cabin. Use your fuel sump to drain the reservoir, strainer, and the fuel selector drains. Inspect the fuel for any contaminants and ensure it is clean before flight. Next, visually inspect the propeller and spinner. Look for any nicks, cracks, or damage, and check that the spinner is secure. Do not run your hands along the propeller or the spinner, as the propeller is sharp and the spinner is fragile. Inspect the induction air inlet and filter. Ensure there is no obstructions or debris blocking airflow. Move to the alternator belt. Gently press on the belt to check for proper tension and ensure that it is secure and properly aligned on the pulleys. Now inspect the nose landing gear. Check the strut for proper extension and verify there are no signs of fluid leak. Ensure all bolts are secure and not freely moving. Inspect the tire for proper inflation and overall condition. Check the shimmy damper and confirm that all cotter pins are in place. Remove the chocks and place them neatly near the left wing tie down on the ramp, as shown. Finally, check the static source opening. Ensure it is clear and unobstructed. Do not touch it, only visually inspect. The forward fuselage checklist is now complete. Now we'll move on to the final portion, the left wing inspection. The left wing is very similar to the right wing, so we'll move through each step while focusing on the key differences unique to this side. Starting by draining each of the 5 fuel sumps and verifying that the fuel is clean. After checking, return the fuel back into the tank if appropriate. Next, verify the fuel quantity visually. Ensure the fuel cap is secure and confirm that the fuel vent is clear. Inspect the leading edge of the wing. Look for any dents, cracks, or surface damage. Check that the overhead cabin air vent inlet is clear and unobstructed. Now inspect the pitot tube. Ensure the cover has been removed and verify the opening is clear and unobstructed. Next, inspect the fuel vent. Ensure it is clear and unobstructed to allow proper fuel system operation. Inspect the stall warning opening. Make sure it is clear and unobstructed. Do not touch or block the opening. Then inspect the wingtip and lights. Ensure they are secure and in good condition. Check the aileron and flap. Verify they move freely and are properly secured, and inspect both static wicks to ensure they are intact and undamaged. Remove the tie down, neatly wrap it, and place it in the cabin. Inspect the main landing gear. Check the tire condition, brakes, and ensure all components are secure. Finally, complete a full 360-degree walk around in the opposite direction of your pre-flight. This should be clockwise from a bird's eye view. Focus on big picture items such as tie downs, chocks, and fuel caps to ensure nothing was missed. Once you return to the left wing checklist is complete.
At this point, the pre-flight inspection is complete. We verified that the aircraft is airworthy, properly equipped, and safe for flight. Taking the time to carefully verify each step helps catch small issues before they become bigger problems. This entire process is built on safety, consistency, and good decision making. Now the aircraft is ready for a safe and successful flight. Fly safe and War Eagle.